Welcome to a new analysis of Tradomics, a focus on the green energy stocks. This is the second video that is focused on companies that are involved in the industry of the green energy. And as an update regarding the last video, I also added another company, which is Clearway Energy, that we will talk about it soon. As an introduction, for those of you that are new to this channel, we are about to analyze the charts of stocks reported in the icon image, and we're going to use, as always, the T-cycle analysis methodology. This is based on the different duration of the cycles that are divided in downward and upward cycles. And if you want to know more, you can click up on the pop-up menu on the right hand side. And last but not least, if you like our analysis and you have a stocks that that is among those that we analyze on a regular basis, the recommendation is to subscribe to the channel in order to notified as soon as possible regarding the stock you are most interested in. As we apply the methodology that is based on time, the sooner you watch the video, the better it is to manage according your position, whether you're a trader or a short-term investor or even a mid and long-term investor. So having said that, let's start with Enphase Energy. So according to the last analysis that we issued, the critical point for Enphase Energy was to monitor this low that occurred on the 10th of February 2024. And here the price level was $100.48. And we said that if this low would have been broken to the downside, we would have had probably potential downtrend to until the minimum duration of a T+2, because in that case, that cycle would have turned into a negative one. And this is exactly what happened with this candle on the 10th of October 2024. And the duration at that time was 22 bars, so we haven't had the minimum duration for a T+2. And therefore, what happened is that we basically drag it downtrend until this low, which was made on the 23rd of October 2024, actually the day of the earnings release. In that case, we have had a downtrend of 31 days. So 31 days is a median duration encompassed between 24 and 44 days to have this T+2. So for those of you that are not really new to the channel and know a little bit about our cycle analysis, you would have expected more downtrend for the days to come after this break. After the 10th of October 2024, because we haven't had the minimum duration. So in that case, we would have had a competitive advantage eventually to open short position and until stay in that position for at least a couple of days or even more. So with this low now, we have basically closed our T+2, and now here there is a beginning of something else, which is newly born, and it doesn't have a lot of pushback to the upside. The strength is really low here, but let's make the further consideration. So first of all, now the key level to watch is this one, which is set up at $76.68, because here we have the beginning of a cycle, and in the case the price will return back to 76.68 and even lower, when we will have another condition in which a new cycle will be broken to the downside, and therefore the cycle will turn into a negative one with possible downtrend. So now we have to understand which kind of grade this cycle is at the moment, given that it has newly born, as said. We can put at the moment a weekly cycle, given that we have already how many candles over this low? 8 bars. So here we have a condition where this is not just a T but a T+1. At the moment, let's put T plus, and let's see whether something wider than a T+1 will be developed. How we will know that? Well, we have to monitor closely the information that the market will tell us over time. But this structure, the most important thing is to understand whether this structure will be part of this T+5 yearly downward cycle, which has reached 238 bars, or something new, like a new T+5 will be developed. Actually, here what we have is already more than a minimum duration to close this T+5. Once we have the completion of a T+5, another T+5 can be developed. But here we have 238 days. We know that we have more than minimum duration, but this cycle can also last 338 days. This cycle, yearly cycle, is not turned into a negative one, because the law that was signed on the 21st of October was at $76, and here the low from which the cycle started was $73. So we have roughly $3 higher. So either here we will have a new cycle that is a T+2, a T+3, a T+4, or even a T+5. But if we go lower here, then probably this T+5 will still be in place, and therefore we can have more push to the downside. Okay, so here we have to monitor carefully what is going to happen. And we have also said that due to the fact that this top T+4 from this top, this was higher compared to this one, we were also saying that no matter the time, but the closing of this T+5 should be higher than this top, because this top that was made at $141.63 was higher compared to this top at $139.65, and the duration in which this cycle was formed was not the minimum duration of a T+5. Therefore, this T+5 from here should have a development that will push the price within 338 days to a level that is around $131.63. If this is not going to happen, then we will have to reframe the chart. I haven't, to be honest, I haven't found another framing. So at the moment, I will keep this high as the beginning of the T+5 and this high as the beginning of a T+4. But of course, here we will have to see a stronger push to the upside according to our methodology. So we are with Enphase Energy, let's say in not clear situation, because if we will get lower at this point, then we will have to review a little bit the framing. At the moment, I will keep it as such, and also we might have potentially a double bottom, but in order to have a double bottom, we need the last leg to the upside and then go over this top. Okay, too early to say that, but let's keep it monitor what is going to happen. Now, if we have to watch closely the upward cycle on the mid and short term, here what happened is that we had the first T+3 upward cycle that was closed after 51 bars. Now the thing is that we had another upward cycle which was a T+1. But if now we gauge the duration from here to here, we have more than 48 days, so 49 days. So this is a T+3, and this t plus 3 is divided in a first t plus 1. And from here, we don't have just a t plus 1. We have 1, 2, 3 weekly cycles. Here we have to see whether the last weekly upward cycle was over on this top, or we have also this other top that is done today. So here we have to see whether this or this top is the end of the upward weekly cycle. But the total duration from this top is 32 bars. So here we have a situation in which we have had a t plus 3, or we still have a t plus 3 divided into t plus 1 and a t plus 2. Okay, so this t plus 2 has reached a median duration of 32 bars. So we will need a little bit of push to the upside in order to close the t plus 2, because this is not enough to close the t plus 2. And if you want to know more regarding the closing of the cycles, you can refer always to our introduction to t cycle analysis. Okay, so statistically speaking, what I would forecast is a little bit more push to the upside, because here we have close, or we have all the sufficient and necessary condition to close a t plus 2, and also not just a t plus 2, but even a t plus 3. Okay, a 3-month cycle, downward cycle, 79 bars. So here I'm expecting more push to the upside, because we have closed the t plus 3. Potentially we are also closing the t plus 5, and here we have a t plus 1 and t plus 2 that should have this hook to the upside. Okay, so I'm expecting for the next weeks more push to the upside, and in order to have a t plus 2, at least from here, we need to go over the stop at $92.62 at least. So this will be the first target eventually for the hook to the upside. Okay, filling this gap and go over $92.62. Okay, so let's see in the next weeks what is going to happen. Be careful to this low at 76, but more push to the upside, statistically speaking, is forecasted, rather than another, let's say, another push to the downside, unless this low will be broken up. Okay, so that's what I can say regarding Enphase Energy, and let's move to the next one. The second company which belongs to this basket is First Solar. So First Solar, we said in the last video analysis, but also in this case, this law was under our attention to better understand the development of the cycle. From this law, we had the T plus 2, and also in this case, as for Enphase Energy, the T plus 2 turned into a negative cycle. Negative cycle means that the low from which it ended was lower compared to the low from which it started. And this cycle lasted 36 days. Okay, so now here we have the T plus 2 completed, and therefore we need to understand from which law which kind of cycle, which kind of cycles degree will be developed. Okay, so at the moment, now let's put another weekly start downward cycle from here. We are at the moment having some resistance from the moving average 200 period. Therefore, the next week is quite important to understand the development of the cycle. From this top, it's confirmed that we have a T plus 3. Okay, but now if we gauge the total duration from this T plus 3 from the top to the candle made on the 28th of October 2024, we have 22 bars. So here we have definitely the beginning of a T plus one, but we have now also a sufficient duration to start eventually closing a T plus two, because with today's candle we have 26 bars, and therefore here also we statistically foresee more push to the upside, at least for the beginning of next week, because we will need to have this hook towards the upside in order to close a T plus two. So here, of course, we have a resistance, but the first target will be to go over this top at $206.80. Okay, so that would be the target. And from a downward cycle perspective, as well for first solars, as we have seen previously on Enphase, we have the minimum duration to close even a T plus 5. Okay, so if from here we will have a new T plus 5, therefore the target eventually for the new T plus 5 will be at least the stop at at $262. But first thing first, let's see whether we will have this hook up. Here we have also T plus 4, also just to keep it in the back of your mind that if here we have a T plus 4 which is turning into a negative, we will have, of course, the beginning of something like a T plus 2 or T plus 3, but then we would expect more downtrend, at least lower to this point, okay, lower to $183.68. So keep also this thing in the back of your mind. Here we have the condition to have a T plus 4. It doesn't need that is necessary to be a T plus 4, because it might be also T plus 3. Especially because this cycle is embedded into this T plus 5 downward cycle, which now has 243 bars to eventually close here. But manage correctly your position, because if we will not have a strong push to the upside going first over this target and then eventually this target here, this T plus 4, we will of course produce a bounce to the upside, but then a return back to at least $183.68. Okay, so bear this in the back of the mind. Statistically speaking, over the short term, this is the most probable way. Okay, so let's move to the next one. The next stock that we have on our radar is Nextera Energy. As for the last analysis that we issued, we were saying that this law should have been monitored carefully, because if broken, we would have had a T plus 2 turn into a negative cycle, therefore further downtrend at least for a minimum duration of 24 days up to 44 days. Okay, so we have had actually T plus 1 turning into a negative cycle, and then another T plus 1. The total duration, if we take this low made on the 18th of September until today's candle, is 32 bars. Okay. Now the thing is that according to the information that the market gave us, I see that this structure is a little bit independent compared to, let's say, this structure. Okay, and if we now gauge the total duration from this T plus 3, we add or we have 77 bars, and 77 bars can be encompassed in the first cycle T plus 2 are 36 bars, and the second one at 41 bars. Considering that this structure is, from a graphical perspective, something apart, I would update the chart as follows. So I would put the T+2 here. This is it's a negative already T+2, but potentially it's even a T+3, exaggerating, because the broke of its low happened after 16 bars. So here potentially there is a T+2, T+3 negative. So this means that we have more time to proceed to the downtrend. How much? So considering a T+2, here we have 18 bars, so we can have further downtrend at least until the 11th of November. So keep this in the back of your mind, and especially if from this top we have not just a T upward cycle, but something that now is at least after 22 bars a T+3. Okay, no, even a T+4, because 2 degrees less, we have a T+4 upward cycle. And this top was already suspicious in the last analysis, because after this T+3 that had 87 bars out of 89, we would have expected something at least a T+3. And that's exactly what happened. This candle made its top at 86.00, and this stop was at 86.10. So therefore we didn't have the break at 86.10, and this is the beginning of a T+4. And if it's not even a T+4 but even a T+5, we could expect more push to the downside. And actually here we have a T+2 that is already negative. This arch basically allowed it also the closing of this T+4, because the T+4, if we gauge the T+4 until the 8th of October 2024, we have 152 bars. Oh, here we would have already 170 bars, then therefore would be a T+4H. So this is, let's say, the framing that to me sounds more reasonable, also according to all the rules that we have in our methodology. This first upward cycle has been a T+1, and now we have the second T+1. But of course, if from here we have not just a T+4 but a T+5, then we will need other days to the downside. Okay. Now we have also to consider the T+5 downward cycle, which was made with this law on the 6th of October 2023. Therefore, here we have a duration of 271 days. So we can further extend the cycle until 338 days. So this retracement that it's ongoing short term can also be extended in the worst case scenario until 338 days, excluding Bayer tongue, which means until the 10th of February 2025. Okay, I'm expecting a retracement because the trend is solid to the upside. And if we want to see the targets, the first target of this cycle would be at $76.49, and the second one will be close to the moving average 200 period as of today at $70.60. Okay, so let's see to what extent the retracement will take place. We know already that we can go further extend the downtrend at, until the 11th of November. This is the new framing that to me sounds more reasonable, and as I said, here we have 36 days, and the second cycle is at 43 days. And then let's see in the next weeks what is going to happen. Okay, Last but not least, upward cycles here. We have reached 22 bars. So before expecting a nuke like this, we still have time to further push the price down at least the first target at $76.49. A healthy retracement, but still a strong uptrend will be at this point at $70.60. Okay, so keep this in the back of your mind so then you can manage correctly your positions. Let's move to the next one. On Brookfield, as for the last analysis, we were saying that this stop could have been potentially the beginning of a T+3, but we were putting a question mark because we wanted to have a confirmation from the market. We have this hook to the upside, but then definitely a retracement. So this cannot be considered T+3 because it would be really bizarre to have a cycle like this and then move that was basically going lower to this key point level and a retracement of 13% in just 1 week. So here we have the beginning of something new from this top and not from this top. What can we have as the beginning of from this top as not just a T+3, but eventually a T+4, because we have at the closing of the T+4, and then here potentially a new T+4. Okay, so at the moment, I would, from an upward cycle perspective, I would put a T+3, T+4 upward cycle from here. We have already broken this key level points that allows us to better understand that from this top we have the beginning of something new, which might be more than a T+3. And shortly we will have the earnings release. So let's see what is going to happen, because from here, if from here we have a T+3, T+4, we cannot go back for at least 11. So if it's a T+3, at least for 13 days, but if it's a T+4, more than 24 days. So therefore, even if there will be the earnings release, we cannot go back to the stop if this is a T+4. So this is the first thing. The second thing is that we wanted to monitor also this low, as this is potentially a T+2. I also see that the beginning of the T+2 can be put also here. But here definitely we have a cycle that if we have this low as a T+2 is lasting 39 bars. No, it's 40 bars. So we can extend the duration until 44 bars. And the extension until the maximum duration of 44 bars will be at 7th of November, when the earnings release will be on the 8th of November. So here we have to see whether from this low we have the T+2 or eventually from this low the T+2. But in any case, we are actually going toward the closing of the cycle, because in this case, from this low we have 40 bars. But if we consider this one, which happened a week after, we have 32 days. So here we are closing a T+2. We have reached a medium slash or close to maximum duration. And here the supporting level, moving average 200 period, will be important to eventually develop a new downward cycle. Also, if we consider this T+3, we have a duration which is mid duration 64 days. So the idea here would be to eventually go to this moving average 200 period supporting level, and then see if there will be a reaction of the price either toward the upside to close what to start closing a weekly upward cycle that is now has arrived at 10 days out of 11, or eventually something more. Okay, so I put also here eventually another arrow just to understand whether we can consider the T+2 either here or here, but we have to close the cycle either time until 7th of November, or eventually, if we can consider this low, we have time to close the cycle to the downside further on, which will be 19th of November 2024 at most. Okay, so here we don't have really clear situation, but if from here we have a T+3, T+4, then for the earnings, potentially we will have a triggering situation in which the price can further go down. But let's see, okay? Especially let's see also if we have a reaction near to the moving average 200 period. At the moment, we are still in golden cross, and we have also, let's see, the downward cycle here, T+4. We have also the median duration eventually to close also this T+4, okay? So let's see, this will be the target. As said, let's see if we're gonna have a price reaction in the next for the next week. Let's move to the next one. Last but not least, and it's the next one, is the Clearway Energy. So this is our new entry. It's a company that can be included in the basket of the green energy stocks. And if we see the chart setup, we have had a nice uptrend that started with this low on Wednesday, 4th of October 2023. And from this top, we have at the beginning of T+5 upward cycle that turned into a positive one, thanks to the break of the tops with this candle here occurred on the Wednesday, 15th of May 2024, which allowed it to proceed further to the upside. Okay. Now, the interesting thing regarding this chart is that if we gauge the total duration from this T+5 upward cycle until here, we have 192 days. So basically here we have pretty much the minimum duration to close a T+5. So from this top here, we have to understand whether a T+5 will be developed, because eventually, if not, then we can proceed further to the upside. But you have to be aware that now the safety area, let's say this time in which you can be sure that the price can continue to the upside, is over. And therefore, if we will continue to the upside without developing a new cycle that will be a T+5, well, you have to be aware that then the cycle T+5 will not be completed, and therefore you could expect more retracement in the future. But without saying too much for the future, as we don't have the crystal ball, at the moment we can say that the time has been run out. Okay, and here we have at least a new T+3, a T+4. If we also gauge the duration from this T+5 as the other flip of the coin, we have therefore 268 days. So this is more than a median duration for a T+5. And therefore from here we can expect a new T+5, but it's not as a given. So we might have another T+3 eventually, and a return to let's say to this low, which is at $25.66. We started to have a new good push to the upside and a new cycle because we went over this checkpoint. So here already we have not just a T, but a T plus 1, T plus 2. But if we want to have a T plus 5, then the target will be this one at $30.92. Okay, so of course we will have to monitor over time what from here we will have. At the moment is a weekly cycle, but I can already say it's more than a T plus 1. So hence here we have 22 bars, so we can start also closing the T plus 2. So we will have more days to the upside in order to close the T plus 2. We can close it like this, or we can close it like another T plus 1 and eventually a T plus 2. We can have either this shape or this shape or this shape, okay? But if here we have a T plus 3, T plus 4, the shape that we can foresee is definitely this one, okay? So here I would expect for the next week more uptrend rather than downtrend to close the T plus 2 and to start something new from this low, which might be more than a T plus 2, T plus 3, okay? And if we have a T plus 5, the target is this one, okay? So this is another interesting company that I wanted to analyze and share with you through our methodology. And this is all for this video. So I'm a little bit tired because it's Friday, and after a really a hard week, it's a little bit difficult sometimes to speak really clearly about the charts and the methodology that we use. But in any case, if you want to know more about our methodology, feel free to comment or put a like to support our job on a daily basis. Thanks for watching, and see you to the next episode.